so far in camp, who has really stepped up in a big way and caught the eyes of the coaches?
And that's something that, everybody waiting for him to kind of just really completely separate themselves, that they all been consistent. And coming into this, everybody thought it was going to be a three-horse race, right? You have Robert Woods, you have Calvin Austin, and Roman Wilson. But the one person that really is saying, hey, don't forget about me, is Scotty Miller. This guy is throwing his name in the hat. He is creating these splash plays to say, hey, I've done it in this league. I want the opportunity, especially with the number 2 position being open. People just think it's plug and play. And those are things that ultimately, when you have a young Roman Wilson, the sky was the limit. They expected a lot from him last year. Unfortunately, he got hurt. This is a redshirt freshman year all over again for him. So all the things that he is doing, skill set, I'm not worried about that. But again, the nuances of defenses, being able to now read defenses on your route, being able to convert off of what the main route would be. Those are things that he is learning at this particular point. So I think that's going to take a little bit longer. But again, he has an opportunity to separate himself because he probably will be given the first opportunity in this preseason game coming up here against Jacksonville this weekend. So these are going to be something that the coaches want to see who is going to separate themselves. Calvin Austin, yes, he's the veteran guy. Robert Woods, he's a veteran guy as well. So how much of Tomlin wants to see of those two versus now the young guy that you drafted a year ago, and they're going to give him every ample opportunity to now prove his value on this roster.
Exactly. And I know in this Arthur Smith offense, moving on over to the tight end position, he likes to use a lot of tight ends, and he brought in one in Jonnu Smith. We already had some standovers and Pat Fryermuth and Darnell Washington, Charlie, when I saw that, man, I've never seen a human quite like Darnell Washington. Max Starks said this one thing. I was like, I've never seen a tight end that huge and that loves to block that much. He's like, yeah, that's right. And they're usually tackles. And he definitely has the skill set. But how will Arthur Smith get these tight ends to work as a unit? They all offer, I think, something a little bit different. You got Pat Fryermuth, who has proven that he's a really standout pass catcher, as well as Jonnu Smith. But we got a guy in Connor Hayward who's trying to make some hay and trying to be valuable as well, as kind of a Swiss Army knife of sorts. And especially since we don't have the Najee Harris, the big back in the backfield for pass protection reason, even though Jalen Warner has shown, I know Arthur Smith likes to use the tight end in that kind of role sometimes, and he likes his tight end to be versatile. So do you think there's a chance we take 4 tight ends into this season with the 4 names I just named?
I think it's a strong possibility. And when you talk about a Darnell Washington, this guy is huge. He's just a large human being, and there's not a lot of body fat on him. So that's something that you can't be as concerned. That's just how his body is, his stature of his body is. So when you see him moving down the field, being able to now run the routes, he ran a nice corner route the other day that got behind the secondary, and then people were just like, wow, we didn't expect Darnell to be able to do that. But to your point to Arthur Smith, he wants to use the tight ends. You know he's going to have 3 tight ends on his roster. He's even flirted with the idea of saying, you never know, I could possibly have 4 tight ends on the field at one given time. And if that's the case, then of course we'll see Connor Hayward on here. But again, he is in that hybrid role because he's able to play tight end, but also able to jump in and play fullback as well. So that's the advantage that Connor has, and also the experience that he has on special teams. So it's going to be very difficult to just kind of push Connor to the wayside, only because he does something that not many of the other tight ends does, which is play special teams.
Exactly. And so, not to be selfish and just concentrate on the offensive side of the ball, we got some battles on the defensive side of the ball too. I know we have our starters entrenched pretty much in the front 7. We got Cam, we got Keanu Benton, TJ, Alex, Peyton, and Patrick on the inside. And so this, for the front 7, at least on the defensive side of the ball, it's all about depth. And I know we drafted a rookie in Harmon out of Oregon. How has he shown so far in camp? Does he look like the first rounder? Is his pedigree showing up? And I know Coach Tomlin loves to put his first rounders in the fan. He's not scared at all about showing. How has he accepted the challenge thus far?
I mean, he's showed up in every way. I mean, he's been out there every single day, and he's like a sponge. He's trying to absorb everything that Cam Hayward is saying. But why wouldn't you do that when you have an all-pro sitting next to you in that manner? But he's been, everybody wanted to see him in the run game. The thing that I've been surprised at is the number of moves in the pass rush game that
Mm.
he's able to bring in. He's letting those offensive linemen have it, and he's bringing different moves. Everybody's saying, "Wow, we didn't realize you had that in your arsenal." So that's going to be a good repertoire, a good thing for him with his repertoire that he has. But ultimately, you'd add a Yaya Black in there, another young defensive lineman there. It's going to free up because those guys are going to be able to take on those double teams. It's going to free up a Patrick Queen, a Peyton Wilson to now be able to do what they do best, which is fly around and get to the football. Those are the things that I get excited about in that front seven because yes, we know what on the edges, we know what Alex Haskins to bring, we know what TJ Watt is bringing, but when you are able to now secure that middle and
Mhm.
allow those linebackers to run free, that's when this defense becomes dangerous.
Yeah, just seeing him work in one-on-one pass rush, he looks like a veteran already with his multitude of moves. He wasn't just bull rushing, which as offensive lineman, we can't stand when you're just bull rushing and pass pro because it doesn't really work on your game as a defensive lineman. Anybody can bull rush, and usually more times than not, it takes a lot longer to get to the quarterback if you're bull rushing in a game. And so it's good to see that he has maturity. He's listening to the veterans on that squad, and Cam, he has some great ones to learn from. But in order to make that defensive line's job a little bit easier, the secondary has to mesh in a big way. We got a lot of new faces back there. And I know the one that we've been really concentrating on and looking at is that free safety position with the trade of Minka Fitzpatrick. How's Juan Thornhill really stepped up into the role? And is it his position to lose, or is there some competition back there?
No, it's his to lose that for me when I'm looking at it. But of course, Coach Tomlin is always going to create that competition battle at that particular point. He brought Chuck Clark in here to now compete in that particular spot. Thornhill have been doing a really good job of making sure that everybody aligns. There hasn't been missed coverages or blown coverages throughout this entire defense. And of course, that's a lot easier said than done when you have
Right.
three corners that can play man-to-man coverage. So you're seeing a lot of different creativity, a lot of things that are happening on the backside end because Terrell Austin, defensive coordinator, he now has the flexibility to say, hey, my guys can do what they do outside. Now just make sure everybody is lined up. And Thornhill has been doing that. Chuck Clark has been doing that. So I think these are things that ultimately, you get excited about watching that back end.